Hello and welcome to Core Values, the All Things Broken Arrow Public Schools podcast. I'm your host, Greg Spencer, alongside, as always, Superintendent Mr. Chuck Perry. Chuck, how you doing today?
Doing great. Good morning.
It's hard to believe, but we are almost done with another school year, and we have two very special guests with us here today. We have our principal of Broken Arrow High School, Mrs. Crystal Barber. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm well. Good morning, everybody.
And then we have our Director of Student Life and Activities, Christian Welborn. How you doing, Christian?
Good morning. I'm good.
All right, so it's I can't believe it. It's really like the next to last full week of school here, where graduation is coming on here really shortly, and that's what we're here to talk about today. But first, before we kind of dive into that, I want to have you guys talk a little bit about your background, how you ended up being a Broken Arrow Tiger, and Christian, we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, I'm going into my 12th year this year at Broken Arrow. I started out actually at the Education Service Center in the communications department. And when this job at the high school opened up, my heart's always been with kids. So I jumped at the opportunity, and I've been out here. This coming school year will be my 7th year. So
That's hard to believe.
I know.
It goes fast, right? Now, tell us a little about where you're originally from, where you graduated college, that kind of stuff, high school as well.
From around here, I graduated from Union, but I'm a Tiger.
We don't hold that against. There's a lot of a lot of people with union backgrounds.
Went to college. I tried out all of the schools here in Oklahoma. Graduated from the University of Oklahoma Health Sciences Center, actually, and took a little curve in my career and came right back to education, where I always knew I wanted to be. So,
all right, Crystal, what about you?
Well, I'll go back a little bit. I graduated from a school in Southern California, Irvine High School.
Yep.
Actually, it's very similar to Broken Arrow High School. Lots of classroom buildings, big campus, lots of academics, athletics, fine arts opportunities.
So was it just a one high school town, at least back then, or that was just the original one?
Back then, we had three high schools, and I think since then they've built another one. So ended up moving to Oklahoma right after graduation to attend the University of Central Oklahoma. My grandparents lived pretty close to that university, so I attended there, got my bachelor's in Spanish education, and then got my master's in secondary ed. And I started teaching in Oklahoma City Public Schools. I taught Spanish and then became an assistant principal there. And then then moved up to Broken Arrow and became an assistant principal at the Freshman Academy. Then came up to the high school as grade level principal. And then this is my 3rd year to serve as high school principal.
I knew the California background, but I don't think I realized you were all things a master of Spanish. Are you still pretty fluent?
I still am. Yeah.
Sure,
I knew about the Spanish. I didn't know about Irvine, California. So I'm learning something this morning too.
Yeah, when we had her on with a podcast with some students last year, she talked a little bit about the California background. Before we dive into the graduation topic, let's just talk a little bit about this year in terms of how fast it's gone. I know, Crystal, for you, it's really been your first more sense of normalcy, normal year as a principal. Talk a little bit about the year for you. Any highlights or things in particular?
Oh, it's just been a really awesome school year. Our only distance learning days have been distance learning Mondays.
Yeah.
So we've been in person the entire year. We've been able to carry on with our normal activities and all of that. So from my perspective, it's been an awesome year.
Christian, you guys got to have your first big school-wide pep rallies since what? The fall of 2019?
Yes.
Talk a little bit about some of that stuff and the big events that you guys put on.
So we kicked off the year. We had Aloha Bash, and quickly, a couple weeks after that, had our first pep assembly in several years. We've been able to carry on. Excuse me. We've been able to carry on all of our events this year with record attendance. So that's been really exciting. Kids are glad to be back. Glad to be back to normalcy, and that's showing with our attendance.
Cool.
Talk about your numbers at the prom and a couple of the events.
So prom, used to, when I first started out here at the high school, we were averaging about 1,300 students at prom. And this year we sold over 1,900 tickets. So, and I would say in the last couple of years, that has climbed drastically.
It's great.
We're seeing a huge surge in attendance and just engagement from our students.
And that kind of seems to kind of go across the board the last, 5, 6, 7 years in terms of homecoming dances and things like that as well. Just you guys continuing to increase. And I think even more than whenever with some of that stuff got canceled, kids probably appreciate it more, right?
I think so.
Yeah. All right, so let's dive into graduation. It's a big topic. It's coming up here soon, the Tuesday, the 23rd, at the BOK Center. We're back at the BOK Center for the first time since 2019 mainly because of construction reasons, right?
That is correct. With the construction of the event center on campus, and then you compile that with the 61st Street widening from the city, and those two things together, the traffic would just be really a nightmare trying to get in and out of the place, because we're dealing with that on a daily basis here at the high school.
Yeah, I can't imagine trying to
get 12,000 people in and out with both of those projects going on. So that really pushed us back to the BOK Center at this time. It's just going to be a 1-year thing, and we'd love to be back at the high school next year.
Which it's sure nice to have, because it is a great place. You know, both of them have so many pluses. You know, I always enjoyed having it at the BOK Center, and it's just, I think it's a cool opportunity for the kids. I mean, they're getting to graduate in an arena where famous people have had big time concerts, and you know, it allows us to fit in 16,000 plus people, which is pretty unique. So, but I know you had a lot of, you know, your heart really likes having it here, and kind of, it was cool. You know, even on my perspective, it's been pretty neat the last 3 years in terms of, you know, some of the pictures and video footage. Like, you know, 2 years ago we had that sunset that was just insane, and some of the drone shots and things that we got from that are pretty unique.
It's been great. It was one of those things, good things that I feel like came out of COVID. Miss Welborn, her team, Miss Barber, I mean, just made it an incredible night the first time we did it. And that kind of got the momentum rolling to make it an annual event.
Yeah, I mean, I still look back to that, the 2020 year. You know, we did the work on the virtual graduation celebration that we did, kind of not knowing where things were headed. And then all of a sudden June came around, and, you know, no one had really, I think we were one of the first, you know, schools in the state to really be like, we're going to have graduation at the end of the year. And I was very glad we did. It turned out great. So we know when and where it is. Tuesday, the 23rd, Tuesday, May 23rd, back at the BOK Center. Pulling and planning graduation requires a lot of logistics. I mean, we have meetings. I mean, I can only imagine, like, I'm in some of those meetings, but, you know, go into some of the details of just kind of how you guys pull it off.
Well, it takes a village for sure.
Yeah.
We have an incredible team. There are certain things that I just know it's going to get done.
Yeah.
You know, your team, you guys handle, the ArrowVision team handles sound and all of the video content. That kind of thing. And then we have Kim Bento from the PAC. She handles all of the stage setup, just the general run of the ceremony. She's really great at that. She's an amazing event planner. Miss Barber, she handles the script for us. So that's what's up on the podium so that everyone knows where we're at and what we're saying. Works with our students on their scripts as well. And Miss Heckler really drives a lot of it. She's our student, our senior class office advisor, senior board advisor. And she does a lot with our volunteers. We have quite a few teachers that help us with that night. So she is the one that makes sure that we have someone in every station that we need them, communicates with our teachers, signage for our graduates.
Speaking of signage, the giant, I was when I did the B-roll for your video the other day, I was like, oh yeah, we've got that giant sign back there. Is that still in good shape?
It's coming.
Yeah, I haven't used it in a few years. It's probably got some wrinkles in it, but
I believe 4 or 5 panels.
Yeah, it's humongous.
It's huge. So we've got our warehouse team that will bring those items to us at BOK. And then I have my team. We work on the program.
Parking, that's another,
student seating, because, you know, we have nearly 1,400 students that we have to organize and get them in their seats. So.
What, do we know the exact number yet, or ballpark exact?
It's around 1,400. So remember, that includes Broken Arrow High School, main campus, early college high school, virtual academy.
And then next year we'll have our first Vanguard graduates.
Vanguard next year we'll have graduates. So it's every, graduating senior and some early grads.
And this is the first year for the early college high school students that have been in the program for the fourth year. So that's pretty cool. They're actually doing their courting ceremony tomorrow, which Friday when you listen to this, won't be tomorrow, but that's pretty cool as well. First year for that, for all 4 of them. Yeah. So obviously it takes, like you said, it takes a village. It's a humongous team. Is there anybody that we left out that we can think of that we need to give a shout out to pull this thing
I'm
off?
sure I have.
We apologize
Yeah,
if we did.
if we did, I apologize. Yeah.
All right. So with the over 1,400 students that we have, if for those of them that have never been to a Broken Arrow High School graduation, does that mean that the ceremony will last until about 2024, or how long does it usually take?
I think we do a really good job. How I usually say it is we have about an hour of pomp and circumstance and then an hour of name calls. So it's about
The names go fast.
The names go fast. Again, it's a village effort. We keep the program moving, and I think we do a really good job.
Yeah, I think my first year here, I was just kind of blown away by just the first of all, it's just back and forth. You got two things going on, and it does take a long time, but at the same time, it doesn't, it feels faster than it actually is. And I think if you're a parent, or a family member watching from the stands, it probably, especially if you're at the back end of the alphabet, it probably feels like it takes a while. But for us to pull off all that we do in that time frame is pretty impressive. What are 2 or 3 things that parents should know kind of in the weeks leading up to graduation? You want to take this one, Christian?
I would say get there early.
Yeah.
Get there early. Get there early.
And so, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think in the meeting, we're actually going to open the doors a little bit earlier than we have in the past, right?
Our goal is 5:00. If we have the opportunity to open a little earlier, we're willing to. So I would say just plan appropriately. BOK Center. .com has parking suggestions. There's a map. So it would be really great if they would get familiar with that area, kind of have a plan for where they're parking and just get there early, because we really want to start right at 7 so we can get you home before.
I was just thinking about that question. I think just one thing to remember is to really enjoy that evening. And we'll say that to students too, but to really just take the time to just be present and enjoy the graduation ceremony and enjoy your kids and being with your family. So yeah, get there early and then enjoy the time in the evening.
And speaking of getting there early, as always, we will have, not that you're just going to sit there and look at a video board for 2 hours, but we will have pre-show entertainment both in the building on the video screen there at the BOK. We'll have a student-hosted hour and a half or so long pre-show with different video content from throughout the year and some new stuff. And then leading up to the last 20 minutes, we always have Darren Davis, Kelly Pence, and kind of I don't know what they call that band. It's not the Pride necessarily, but some of the bands playing some really good music, so that'll be great as well. Let's talk a little bit about, you talked about the team of people. And one thing I don't think we mentioned is all the administrators that have to be down on the floor, be up in the stands before the kids come down to kind of, curb the shenanigans, so to speak. Talk a little bit about that.
We'll have a very strong security and administrative presence. We are bringing in our middle school principals, our own Broken Arrow Public School security staff. TPD will be there as well through BOK, and there's an event staff that BOK will provide as well. So we'll have lots of people around to just keep things moving in the right direction and addressing anything that needs to be addressed.
Crystal, anything else on that topic?
No,
Did that cover it?
I think that covers it.
If I could add one thing, there's first and foremost the safety part. We want it to be a great night, and that's why we have the increased security at the event too, and why we try not to allow things such as beach balls and air horns. I really think it's important that we realize this is about the students and the families, and when things become a distraction that's not on the students, I hate that for the students. If there's a noisemaker in the stands that somebody's trying to draw attention to their child, they could be taking away from that next child that's called.
Well, and especially as fast as those names are going, it's not about spotlighting. You don't have that time to just sit there and let's all stand up.
You don't. So it's just something for people to think about and realize every name called it's a valuable thing and a valuable time period.
Yeah, something that I actually just thought about. And I'm pretty sure the concession stands are not open during this evening, right? Or we have some water or something.
We'll sell water.
Okay.
We want to make sure that our patrons have access to that.
But no nachos or hot dogs and things like that, right? I mean, something to look into, man. So we talked about parking already, but let's talk. Yesterday we put out a video. Crystal had a message in regard to just the dress code and some of the other things. Talk a little bit about that, and then we'll tell people where they can find that video and more information on graduation.
So one of our core values in our district is diversity. We celebrate and we find strength in our diversity. So we have really adopted some new regalia practices so that we are celebrating our kids and their different Native American heritages and other ethnic heritages. So we have been communicating and been pretty deliberate and intentional about all that communication that has gone out. So if students are wishing to or wanting to wear non-traditional items, there's just basically a Google, well, it's a form stack that they submit, and they include a picture of what they are requesting to wear. And then Mr. Pape, who is our district Indian Ed coordinator, I think that's his position. He is working through communicating with those families on the Native American regalia, and then I'm working with the other ones and communicating with them. So it's a pretty simple process, and so far it's just been really encouraging to see all the diversity we have and how kids are wanting to honor that at the ceremony.
And
really encouraging.
Miss Barber, and the idea of what we're doing, can you talk about it's not to exclude anyone, it's just about protecting the honor of wearing that stuff.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah, this ceremony, we want to honor and celebrate, and it's also a distinguished and dignified ceremony. So it's not to exclude anyone. We really want to include. We just want to do it in a way that we're celebrating and maintaining the dignity of that ceremony.
It's good.
Yeah, and you can find basically all the information that we haven't discussed on baschools.org/graduation, including the video that we put out yesterday. That'll be up on YouTube as well. All the students saw it on GMBA yesterday here at school. That about covers it. It's if there's any question that you didn't have, like I said, that link will be right here on the screen, and you can go to it. And it's coming up. It's Tuesday, May 23rd at the BOK Center, graduating over 1,400 students in the class of 2023. And with that said, we're pretty much done, but I want to know, do you guys got any summer plans?
I'm going to the beach.
Which beach?
Day after Memorial Day, seaside area.
Nice.
Nice. One of my favorites.
Yep.
So far, what's on the books, I am one of the kids' camp sponsors for my kids' church camp, and we're going to Falls Creek. So that's happening. And then I have the honor of going to a national assessment conference in New Orleans at the end of June. And then there'll be something else, I'm sure.
At least it's in a fun place, right?
National Assessment Conference. Wow.
I really know how to have fun.
Set it up.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of Core Values. We'd like to remind you that if you can't make it to the class of 2023 graduation, we will be live streaming that on ArrowVision.tv as well as Broken Arrow School's YouTube. And that's all the time we have. Once again, go and visit that website that we put up here again if you have any questions, and we will see you next time.